Hey everybody, it's low carb and keto nutrition specialist Amy Berger from 2itnutrition.com, bringing you, as always, keto without the crazy. I want to share with you today an image that I came across online on Twitter, and I want to kind of break it down and share my thoughts with you. But before I get to that, as kind of a preface to that, let me say here that it's pretty amazing, like mind-blowing levels of amazing, how powerful keto is or low carb diets are, right? And I probably should use the phrase that an organization I belong to uses with, they call it TCR, therapeutic carbohydrate restriction. Remember, I did a video recently on how keto is a fad and it's unsustainable, and it was this huge rant. I'll put a link in the notes below. And because the K word, keto, is so loaded and so fraught and means so many different things to different people, and it can be very off-putting, especially to medical and nutrition and dietetics professionals, that this group is now using that phrase TCR, therapeutic carbohydrate restriction, because it really grants it a lot more legitimacy and a lot more credibility, if you will. Like it takes it out of the realm of fad, wackadoodle, crazy diet into a legitimate medical and dietary therapy, therapeutic carbohydrate restriction. So let's just say it's really, really powerful, right? Some of you watching this know how powerful it is from your own personal experience. You may have lost 50 pounds, 100 pounds, 200 pounds. You may have reversed or put into remission, whatever terminology you prefer, your type 2 diabetes, PCOS, non-alcoholic fatty liver, migraines, gout. Your skin might have cleared up. Your joint pain might be gone. The acid reflux might be gone. All the stuff I talk about so often. Just by changing the food you eat, right? Just by changing the food. You did nothing else. You didn't deliberately or specifically address any other aspect of your daily routine or your lifestyle or your habits. All you did was change your food. So, with that in mind, and all it took was changing your food to get rid of all those problems, right? Or at least make them much, much better. With that in mind, let me show you this image, and I'll put a link. It was on Twitter. It's by a guy named Steve Bennett, who is out of the UK. I'll link to his website too, but I want to link to the tweet so you can get a better picture of this image. It might not be as easy to see here. It might be a little bit blurry. So I just want to show you that we've got the trunk of the tree here is insulin resistance, and we've got some roots that are kind of, nourishing this tree and causing it to grow. And then we've got the end result. We've got all these sorry, the camera's backwards, you know what I mean? So it's like a mirror image type thing. So we've got all of these results that come from the tree growing. These are the leaves, these are the fruit of the tree, so to speak. So we've got insulin resistance, and then we've got the fruit of insulin resistance, the result of insulin resistance or metabolic syndrome, basically the same thing, chronically high insulin. I'll just read you some of these. It's all the stuff we know. We've got heart disease, migraines, PCOS, dementia. I wrote a book about Alzheimer's and a ketogenic diet. Arthritis, obesity, gout, type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, fatty liver, certain cancers, stroke, erectile dysfunction, and more. So yeah, no surprise there. I agree with just about all of those, that insulin resistance or metabolic syndrome either causes or makes those all worse. Yeah, some of them, got to be really careful, might not be causal, certainly makes them worse. But I'm more interested in the roots that are here, the roots of this tree. So those roots are, maybe it's a little bit blurry, now it's a little clear, you can see. Refined carbohydrates, I'm going out of order, maybe I'll start there. We've got seed oils, sedentary lifestyle, refined carbohydrates, lack of sleep, sugar, ultra-processed food, and chronic stress. Now, I am not saying that all of those things might not contribute to that. I'm not saying they're not in some way a root of that tree, a root of the insulin resistance. But let's go back to what I just said at the beginning of the video. Isn't it interesting that just through reducing or restricting your dietary carbohydrate, that therapeutic carbohydrate restriction, that alone is enough to reverse or put into remission so many of these issues. Not all of them, certainly not all, don't misunderstand me, but many, many of them, without at all addressing your lack of sleep or your sedentary lifestyle or the chronic stress or the ultra processed food or even the seed oils, frankly. Let me go through those real quick. I should go get the book. The late great Robert Atkins of the Atkins diet, in his book, I reread his book a couple of years ago after having read it, I don't know, 20 years ago or something. And I was blown away at how ahead of his time he was. And that, if I recall correctly, and I'll link to a video I did celebrating Dr. Atkins and how brilliant he and his super simple plan are and were. If I recall correctly, in his book, or the book I'm thinking of, Dr. Atkins' Diet Revolution and New Diet Revolution, because some of his other books might have addressed some of these other issues, he did not talk about exercise. He did not talk about reducing your stress load. He did not talk about getting more sleep or having better sleep hygiene, getting your blackout curtains and your blindfold and your sleep ring and all this. All he talked about was cutting your damn carbohydrate intake. And there's only a couple million people right now who owe their health to Dr. Atkins solely through cutting carbs. When we factor in everybody who's doing a low carb or ketogenic diet all around the world, we probably are up in the millions at this point. So I hope we are. But he didn't really, advise or require anyone to change any of those other factors. Just cut your carbs. The Atkins diet was a low carb diet. It wasn't a low carb diet and high intensity workouts 3 days a week and getting 8 hours of sleep a night and meditating or taking ashwagandha to reduce your stress and all that. It was just cut your carbs, and it worked really, really well. Now, I will also, I always have links in the notes. I don't know if any of you bother to look at that or not. I will put a link to a video I did about the seed oils and the omega-6. I know there's a lot of fear mongering out there about that, the soybean oil, the canola, the cottonseed oil, whatever. I'm not necessarily telling you that those are health foods and that you should be living on that stuff. But what I do know from my own experience, personally and professionally, what I know from having worked with Dr. Eric Westman now for a couple of years and having coached over 2,000 people through our Adapt Your Life Academy courses on keto, and from Dr. Atkins, even from his books, you can achieve excellent health while still including those oils in your diet. The therapeutic effects of therapeutic carbohydrate restriction come from exactly that. They come from restricting the carbs. They don't come, it's not a therapeutic seed oil restriction diet. It's not a low therapeutic low omega-6 diet. It's a low carbohydrate diet. So, the bottom line is we know that people can include those oils in their diet and still have amazing results, still lose a ton of weight, still reverse their diabetes, reverse the PCOS, reverse the non-alcoholic fatty liver. How do we know? Because people do it all the time, right? Again, I happen to be close with Dr. Westman, so I know his experience and his clinic, history more. He has a lot of patients that are, not economically well off. They don't have a high level of education. So, they cannot afford $9 a bottle for avocado oil mayonnaise. They're going to get what's on sale at the regular store. They're going to eat the regular soybean oil ranch dressing. And guess what? They can lose 50 pounds and reverse their diabetes, including that stuff. So you can get the wonderful effect. Now, if you want to go really low on those oils and low on omega-6, be my guest. I don't care. I'm just saying that you can get the effects you want without a specific focus on that. Same with being sedentary. We know all of the keto doctors that I'm familiar with have patients who are disabled in some way. They could be in wheelchairs, they might be a paraplegic or something, where they can't do high intensity exercise. They can't sprint. They can't do a huge, weightlifting workout. but they can still lose 100 pounds. They can still reverse their diabetes. They can still reverse all this other stuff. Not all, most of this other stuff. So even without addressing exercise, without being any less sedentary, you can still reap the benefits of what? Therapeutic carbohydrate restriction, aka a low carb diet. Lack of sleep, sleep definitely can affect the hormones that regulate your appetite and your satiety and even glucose sensitivity, insulin sensitivity. That is definitely a thing. And yet, you can still improve your health massively just by changing your diet without focusing at all on those sleep habits. And I'm not dismissing the importance of having healthy sleep habits. Like, yeah, that's been a huge issue for me personally, that finally I have been making some actual genuine improvement in, like, finally. So I'm not dismissing it. It is important, but you can reap a lot of the benefits of low carb without thinking at all about changing anything about your sleep. Same thing with ultra processed food. I did a video too. I'll have links to everything. I did a video on processed food. Crystal Light is absolutely an ultra processed food, yet people can drink that and do great on keto. Erythritol. How many of you eat erythritol? You know where erythritol comes from? It comes from corn. Look at a bag of erythritol, of white crystallized erythritol. Tell me how similar that looks to an ear of corn. So clearly, I think we can agree that erythritol out of the bag is an ultra-processed food. Does that mean you have to eliminate it to be successful on keto? No. Look at Maria Emmerich. She's made a career out of writing like best-selling cookbooks that have desserts with erythritol, because you can still lose weight and feel dynamite and restore your health amazingly while eating erythritol or stevia or, like whatever the thing is, Splenda. People, you can eat this stuff. You don't have to. If you would prefer to not include any of that in your diet, you don't have to. But you can improve massively most of these things by addressing literally, I would say two of these things, because he's got sugar and refined carbohydrates as two separate roots. I don't know why. Sugar is a refined carbohydrate, but anyway, let's say they're one. Sugar, refined carbohydrates. You can address all of this stuff by addressing one of these roots and ignoring all the rest. And I'm not encouraging you to ignore all the rest, but for some people, just cutting the carbs is hard enough. That's a big enough deal. That's a hard enough ask. Now I have to cut my carbs, and I have to change my entire sleep routine, and I have to find time to meditate and reduce my stress, and I have to change all the fats and oils I eat. Like that's too much. That is too much. So with knowing that's too much for some people to handle all at once, changing everything, isn't it nice to know that you can reap massive benefits from low carb by just doing exactly that, going low carb? And again, we know you can because people do it all the time. This new focus on the lifestyle is kind of new, and I don't know where it comes from. Maybe it's just an evolving shift overall in people concerned about health and nutrition, but back in the day, it was really just the diet. It was about the food. It was about what you were eating and what you were not eating, and that was it. There was no fear-mongering about the seed oils. There was no fear-mongering about artificial sweeteners. There was no fear-mongering about stress and sleep. So what else can I say? Oh, even, what he doesn't have here, and I'm surprised, maybe this will be refined in the future, is like the gut microbiome, or video games and watching TV, but I guess that's the sedentary lifestyle that factors into that. These other things that people blame, oh, well, it's because you do X and Y thing and that's why you're heavy. Well, how come I can reverse, or we people can reverse non-alcoholic fatty liver? They can lose a ton of weight, reverse obesity, reverse type 2 diabetes, put PCOS into remission, get rid of their arthritis, get rid of the migraines, massively, improve the old erectile dysfunction, fellas, wink, wink. How come people can do all that by just eliminating the carbs or going really low on the carbs? It's like, and I'm not saying all these things don't contribute, but it's fascinating to me that you can kind of ignore most of those. If you work really, really hard at the carbohydrate alone, a lot of this gets fixed and you don't have to focus on every other little thing. And the gut biome, you know who never wrote one word about the gut biome? Robert Atkins. Because it didn't matter. And I'm not saying it doesn't matter, but if it does matter, you don't have to address it to reverse all your metabolic syndrome stuff. I just find that fascinating. We're like looking for all of these explanations. Oh, it can't possibly be as simple as you're just eating too many carbs. It's got to be the gut flora, and it's got to be the stress and the sleep and the sunlight and the omega-6. It's got to be the stuff. What if it is just the carbs? Because there's a hell of a lot of people out there who the only thing they do is cut the carbs. And all of those issues either go away or get much, much better. That's all I know about that, I do think there was something else I was going to say. Oh, the seed oil. Yeah, I'll link to the video I did on the seed oils. Oh, getting back to the ultra-processed food again. I probably said this in the video I did on processed foods. My friend Siobhan Huggins from cholesterolcode.com said something years ago that was so brilliant, and she just came out of her mouth spontaneously on stage at an event. She said, I don't care how processed a food is. I care about the metabolic effects. Hello. That's why most people can drink Crystal Light and do really well on keto. That's why we can have erythritol and do really well on keto. It's why we can have pepperoni and do really well on keto. It's why you can have ranch dressing and why you can drink diet soda and do really, really well. Because it's not about how processed a food is, it's about the effect on your blood sugar and insulin. So I don't mean to insult this, Greg. I still think this is like a very, very helpful image. I just wanted to point out that I think it's really funny / interesting / telling / fascinating that you can address most of these while only addressing one of these, and you don't have to address the others. So, I guess that's it for now. Thanks for watching. I will see you next time. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already. I have lots of good stuff, and hopefully make your way through the older videos if you haven't already. Thanks for watching.